increasing hate crimes against members of the Hindu community in different parts of the world. And as a precautionary measure, in the wake of hate crimes, India has now issued an advisory to its citizens either living or visiting the country of Canada. Indian nationals have been advised to exercise caution and also remain vigilant days after anti-India graffiti in Canada have appeared in different parts of the country. Indians have been advised to register themselves with the High Commission in Ottawa or the Consulates General of India in Toronto as well as Vancouver. The advisory also comes after India strongly reacted to radicals behind the so-called Khalistani referendum held in Canada as well. Back home, parents whose children are studying in Canada have welcomed this decision on the part of the Indian government.
जहाँ मैं रहता हूँ वहाँ बिल्कुल इंडियन माहौल है और जो मेरे साथ के हैं जहाँ मैं काम करता हूँ बहुत घरेलू माहौल है वहाँ पे, तो मेरे हिसाब से ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। बट मैं एग्री हूँ गवर्नमेंट के साथ और हम गवर्नमेंट के साथ ही हैं हर चीज़ में। गवर्नमेंट के साथ कदम से कदम मिला के चलेंगे अगर जैसे गवर्नमेंट हमको बोलेगी। मैं अभी थोड़ी देर में चेक करके रजिस्ट्रेशन करूँगा अपना। बहुत ज़रूरी चीज़ है ये, गवर्नमेंट की नज़र में हम होने चाहिए कि हम इधर रह रहे हैं।
देखो, वैसे तो अलर्ट के लिए तो ऐसे है कि अगर सरकार ने भी अलर्ट रहने के लिए बोला है तो कुछ होगा, इसीलिए बोला होगा। ठीक है, उस माहौल को देखते हुए जहाँ पे ये जॉब करता है वहाँ पे तो माहौल बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन कनेडियन के माहौल को देखते हुए मैं अपने बच्चे को बोलूँगी कि वो सतर्क रहे।
गवर्नमेंट ने भी बहुत अच्छा स्टेप लिया है ये वाला, ताकि बच्चे सेफ रहें और इससे हमारे देश की जो गवर्नमेंट है वो इसको बहुत अच्छे से टैकल कर रही है। इन्होंने शायद कंप्लेंट भी करी है हाई कमीशंस में, कैनेडियन हाई कमीशंस में, तो काफ़ी इससे उम्मीद है कि बच्चों की सेफ्टी बढ़ेगी।
So there have been a series of attacks against members of the Hindu community, in particular in the UK, and now signs also being felt in Canada, where there's a strong Indian diaspora that's been there for a very long period of time, and the Indian government going to the extent of issuing an advisory cautioning all Indian citizens living there to register with the Indian High Commission as well as the Consulate Generals in Toronto and Vancouver, and also asking them to remain vigilant. Now, Canada has of course also been a hub of a lot of Khalistani activity over the years as well, and that is something that the Indian government has repeatedly brought up with its Canadian counterparts, and that's an additional reason on the part of the citizens there to be vigilant and report themselves to the nearest High Commission or the Consulates General. This is of course following the spate of violence that has been witnessed in Leicester in the United Kingdom as well as Birmingham. A similar protest was expected to be undertaken outside a mandir in Coventry as well in the UK yesterday. And following red flags that have been issued by members of the Indian diaspora in Canada, the Indian government also proceeding to issue an advisory to its citizens living in Canada to remain vigilant. Canada has, of course, also been witness to the so-called Khalistan referendum that is being called on by separatists in Canada as well. So the Indian government, of course, taking that up with its Canadian counterparts too. Let me go across to Srinjoy Chaudhary for more on this. Srinjoy, an additional reason why the Indian government is taking this action is also because Canada, for a very long period of time, has been a hub for anti-India, pro-Khalistan activity too. So that's an additional reason for us and Indian citizens there to remain vigilant in the wake of what's been happening in different parts of the world.
Yes, when you think of Khalistan and Canada, you also think of the Kanishka. That was the Indian airline Boeing that was bombed when it was flying to Ireland. And many people died. And that was as long ago as the mid-80s. The Khalistan problem has been alive and well in Canada for decades. Now the Indian government realizes that there are Indian citizens there who are at risk. Some of them are visitors, some of them are tourists. There are also people of Indian origin who are there at risk, which is why there is such a strong letter. Normally, you don't write a letter like this to a friendly country saying that, look here, you have to look after Indian citizens. You have to ensure that their rights, their safety, their very existence has to be looked after. And that is the kind of letter that has gone to the Canadians, to Ottawa, saying very clearly that Indian interests, the life and security of Indian citizens in Canada must be looked after.
Absolutely, Srinjoy. You talked about the Kanishka bombing, which is the bombing of AI 182 in the year 1985, in which 329 people were killed. That was the largest air terror attack before 9/11. Thanks for that input.